Welcome to virtual visits at the New York Academy of Medicine Library. I'm Arlene Shaner, the Historical Collections Librarian at the Academy, and I'll be sharing some highlights from the library's collections with you in this virtual tour. Our library has over 550,000 volumes and many other materials, and all of them help us learn about the history of health and medicine. Visit us online anytime to learn about the library and explore more of our resources. There are many ways to teach children about health and hygiene, and in this virtual visit, we will take a look at a few items from the library's collection of health books and pamphlets aimed at younger audiences. Wouldst Know Thyself, this little book of health lessons by Mrs. Jane Taylor, written in 1858, could be used by parents at home or by teachers in school. For centuries, the phrase know thyself had been associated with anatomy and physiology, reminding us that knowledge of our own bodies is a powerful thing. The book combines advice about developing healthy personal habits, illustrated here with a series of pictures reminding children to sit up straight while writing and reading, with lessons about the body itself, starting with one on what the body's made of, solids like bones and muscles, and fluids like blood. There are lessons on all the senses. This one asserts that sight contributes more to the enjoyment and happiness of mankind than any of the others. Not only is there an explanation of the eye and its parts, but there are short discussions of telescopes and how they work, of nearsightedness and farsightedness, and even of the compound eyes of insects. We'll jump to 1920 now and take a look at this very popular little abecedarium, first published by the Child Health Organization of America in 1918. By 1920, when this edition was printed, well over 1 million of these pamphlets had been distributed. Chocho, the little imp who introduces the book, appeared in a whole series of other health stories as well. A charming illustration accompanies a rhyming couplet for each letter of the alphabet. And if you look closely, you'll always be able to spot Chocho, climbing the apple tree that goes with the letter A, pointing to the bathtub, or snoozing on the ground next to the napping little girl. The book encourages children to keep track of how well they're growing, with regular height and weight checks. Here are 3 panels about beverages, 2 that extol the benefits of milk and water, and a third, the letter T, that warns children away from drinking tea and coffee. The last few pages are height and weight tables so families can keep track of how well their children are growing. Lots of different kinds of fairies visit Jack and Peg in this set of stories from 1921, which also includes rhymes written by public school children here in New York. Peg O'Joy is surprised to be woken up one morning by the good fairy. Of course, she can hear the fairy talk to her because her ears are clean, while Jack o'Health missed the fairy's greeting since he did not wash his ears before heading to bed the night before. At the beginning of Chapter 2, Peggy and Jack learn about germs, shown as little goblins riding on the backs of flies, and how they can make you sick. The good fairy hops on a toothbrush to take a ride and remind the children that brushing their teeth will get rid of those germs and help keep them healthy. Here's a picture that emphasizes the importance of getting lots of fresh air and exercise, and a second one about healthy eating, with a parade of vegetables, including potatoes, carrots, peas, and onions, all marching along next to a farmer fairy. After a long day, drowsy Jack and Peg are helped to bed by the sleepy fairies, as Jack recites a little poem. I learned about the barefoot boy and his life in the open air, and I wish that I could live with him as a king of the hillsides fair. Though we must live 'tween city walls, kings we too can be, for nature has given the gift of health to him and you and me. The Cleanliness Institute, a subsidiary of the Association of American Soap and Glycerin Producers, marketed cleanliness and personal hygiene through advertising, radio broadcasts, and classroom books for children. This 1927 book by Grace Halleck features stories about children from around the world, illustrated by the feminist suffragist artist Lou Rogers and her husband Howard Smith. The introduction tells us that no matter where they're from, all of the children in these stories are seeking the same common ends, and the ideal of cleanliness is one of the most fundamental of those ends. Not only is each story illustrated, but a separate set of the plates, which could be used as classroom decorations, is tucked into the back of our copy. No matter what their plots or where the children live, be it in Africa, Europe, or Asia, children participate in common activities. They fetch water for drinking and washing and help their mothers with chores. They often head to school for the day, and sometimes, as in the story about Japan, they make a stop along the way, in this case visiting a temple. And of course, they always take baths. Dorothy Baruch, a child psychologist who wrote books for children and parents on a wide variety of topics, collaborated with pediatrician Oscar Rice on this 1934 physiology text for elementary school children. Preface makes the point that teaching health and hygiene requires real subject expertise and shouldn't just be handed off to teachers of other subjects. The pictures by Sid Brown bring a lively clarity to the topics discussed in the text, as seen here in an early chapter exploring the muscles, bones, and organs that lie below the surface skin and fat of human bodies. Jimmy Chu, a sixth-year molar, was the star of Dr. Harrison Ferguson's Toothland puppet show, which was performed at the dentistry exhibit in the Hall of Science at the 1933 Chicago World's Fair, whose theme was a century of progress. In Dr. Ferguson's guide, the drawings of happy teeth were meant to be colored in by children. They illustrate how what he called the 4 big helps, right food, chewing exercises, toothbrushes, and the dentist himself all contribute to good dental health. A little jingle, set to the tune of the popular song Let Me Call You Sweetheart, cheerfully reminds children of how they can keep their teeth healthy by following Dr. Ferguson's rules. Health and Happy Days, one of a series of elementary school books about health and safety, looks very much like other books for beginning readers that were popular in the 1950s. The very short stories all impart health lessons of one kind or another. Here, Susan pays a visit to her new friend, Fred. When she takes a tumble chasing his hat, Fred's mother is there to bandage up her hand and let her know everything will be fine. And after their day of playing outside, Fred and Susan wash up on their own and brush their hair and teeth. In another series of stories, a classroom full of children paints pictures after a lesson on where milk comes from, but then they happily put away all the supplies before washing their hands. There's also a lesson about being safe at the water fountain so no one will get wet. The nurse shows Susan and her friend Jane how to measure their height and weight using the school scale. And when the friendly local doctor visits the school, he lets Fred listen to his own heart before he does a quick health assessment. In 2000, we made our own contribution to children's health education here at NIAM. In collaboration with the American Skin Association, the Office of School Health Programs created The Wonders of Skin, a set of skin health curriculum guides for children from kindergarten through high school. Shown here are the covers of the guides for the youngest children from kindergarten through grade 2 and the one for middle schoolers. A short introduction lays out how teaching students about skin health can make a difference in their lives, from understanding the importance of the skin as the largest organ of the body to learning about why protection from too much sun exposure matters. Each guide builds on the lessons that were taught in earlier grades. Here we can see how the same illustration of the parts of the skin is used for children of different ages, but as they get older, what they learn is much more detailed. And while children in early grades talk about the benefits and hazards of sun exposure in very basic ways, by the middle grades they can assess the risks of sun exposure and set sun safety goals for themselves. We've come to the end of our quick look at some of the many ways health topics have been shared with children over the course of more than 150 years. If you want to keep exploring, remember you can always find more information and do research online by visiting us at niam.org/library.